let's do an interesting problem, right? The problem is that I want you to build an ATM for the blind people. The user journey is you came into the ATM, you stood there, through voice you figured out, and you then effectively have a thumbprint or a biometric kind of a sensor which figures out, and you through voice you effectively tell that, okay, I want to take out $5,000, and it effectively gives you $5,000 outside. It has already validated. Now the second question comes: what if there are other people around and it's a blind man and somebody picks it across that money? What will you do about that? From a security perspective, you see, India is a very that kind of a country. There are people in the queue. Somebody sees he's a blind guy. Money comes out. He picks up the money. He has no way to figure out that the money is out, or maybe a sound comes. But how do I know that the sound actually validated that the money is coming out for me or not? Right? Somebody picked up the money and took it away.
Uh, Maybe in that case, I mean, ATM machine or ATM premise, they have to make sure that unless the transaction is completed, the door should not be open for that particular amount of time. I mean,
But
this
how
is
will
what
you
I.
figure out that it's a blind guy or somebody, that the door should not be opened? I think one of the reasons that we want to use an ATM is cash, right? But what is a parallel to cash in our world? One of the parallel to cash that I can very clearly think of is Paytm.
Yes,
You use Paytm everywhere, right? It's not
absolutely.
like it's a card or UPI that you have to take out phone pay, even though UPI is also getting very popular. But yes, virtual money pay. So you can probably talk about that. Okay, I want to directly transfer the money to my Paytm account because I can use it at any point of time. I can push that money. I don't necessarily need cash for that, right? Because if you would have told me that I'm putting it in my bank account, then it would have been no value, because again then you have to take out the money. So I am converting that money into some sort of virtual money. So can we do that? Can How do we do that?
Yeah. I mean, then why do we even need a ATM for that? I mean, the physical hardware machine. Why can't we do that from the software itself? Your bank account has to be linked with your Paytm or your GPay account. And whenever you want to transfer your money, you have to go through the multiple authentication process.
Yeah.
And once the authentication process is completed, then only the person can, he or she can able to transfer the money to his respective Paytm or GPay account.
There are two
So
reasons for it why I specifically told this. People in tier 2, tier 3 cities, they are not very comfortable in using their bank accounts and sending money from there. They are rather more comfortable in two aspects, because Paytm has deeply penetrated, right? They use Paytm every day, or they use cash, right? The transaction usage of from an ATM from a bank account to Paytm is far more difficult for them than to go to an ATM and take out cash from there. Just think about the doodh wala in your society. He takes two things: भैया पेटीएम कर दो, या पेटीएम कर दो, या भैया कैश दे दो, right? These are the two things. He doesn't necessarily know how to open into his HDFC account or send money from there to Paytm, or put kind of just put more money into his Paytm account through a bank account, right? That is one of the reason. Yes, yes. Now, how do you want to measure the success of this particular solution? Yeah.
okay, so the success will be from hardware perspective. I Then there should not be any downtime. The performance should be good. Again, there should be a successful cash or receipt withdrawal.
Got it.
That is the most important thing. That
Got
is
it.
these points are from hardware perspective. Then again, the person should be, I mean, whatever authentication process that we have implemented, such as facial recognition or any biometric kind of thing, it should
Got it.
work properly. These are the success metrics according to me. And from software perspective, I would say, since we are thinking about the virtual money transfer from our bank account to a Paytm or any other account like GPay or Beam,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it should work efficiently. um, then query, if at all we are putting any query to any specific bank, then there should be a 24 by 7 assistance or support
Got
has to be given from that
it.
particular bank. So
Got
these
it.
are the matrices that I could think about.
Again, guys, one more important point. I think one of the things that you need to understand about metrics is metrics are actionable, measurable figures, right? Whatever you've spoken about, Meenal, in a typical interview, that is not effectively a metric. A metric is something that you can measure. Like, I'll give you, like you build a voice recognition system. The metric for that would be the number of times you effectively initialize that system as a denominator and the number of times you get success as the numerator, right? That's an
Yes.
input metric for you. And now there is a difference between, guys, what's an input metric and what's a baseline metric. Like the number of attempts a person makes to transact as a denominator, and the numerator is the number of times the transaction happens. That's a baseline metric. कि हाँ यार पैसे तो निकालने हैं. That's the core metric, right? I should get my money when I want, right? But what is the biggest problem for a blind person currently? That out of the probably 4 attempts, he's just able to take it out once because every time he faces some issue. So there's a baseline metric, that number of attempts made to make a transaction as a denominator. On top, there would be number of transactions happened. But that's a baseline metric. You cannot just say that metric. It's like, I have a product. What's my metric? It's revenue, right? So that is not what you have to say as a product manager. What you have to look at as a product manager is, what is my input metric? Like for a feature of authentication, the input metric would be number of times I tried to initialize versus number of times I got authenticated. If that number is actually better than other the systems in the market, which is like Alexa, Google Pay, or whatever your competitor systems are there, then you're doing a great job, right? So that's your input metric, right? What is the second metric that we were talking about from a privacy standpoint, right? Number of thefts that might have happened, because that is something that we can get actually from the ATM, because we fundamentally have data access to that. And the number of thefts as the numerator, and the number of times the transaction has happened. So we will come up with 2 or 3 metrics like that as input metrics, and finally we will say that our baseline metrics is getting the right transactions as the numerator and divided by the total number of transactions we tried for. So what was the structure? The structure was very clear, that the question was there. She asked some basic assumptions. She took a look at the goals. She looked at the goals. Post the goals, she looked at the user persona. User persona post, she looked at geography, which is again optional. Then she looked at some of the solutions that are not solutions, but rather the problems that were there. Post the problem, she actually looked at some of the solutions. We figured out the quality of the solutions, and then we eventually moved to matrices, right? So that's going to be a super cool job. So guys, ready for the second deconstruct with me? So another question is, so all of you guys use LinkedIn, right? So now LinkedIn has a very interesting feature which I've always found not very useful. But how do you make that useful? Which is the endorse feature, the endorsements features, right? So can you deep dive into a little bit that what is the value of that feature and why should we improve it, and if we want to improve it, how do we improve it, right? Yeah.
So, if we are talking about the endorsement feature in LinkedIn, so
Mhm.
people nowadays they have very indifferent views across the endorsement feature. For most of us, we are not even aware about what exactly the feature is bringing the value.
Yeah.
So, according to me, the endorsement is mostly useful for the recruiters and then for the candidates. Why for the
Got it.
recruiters? Because recruiters can improve their search experience based on the
Got it.
keywords, based on
Got
the
it.
endorsement. So,
Got it.
it will definitely bring a value to recruiters. And from the
Mhm.
candidates' perspective, if they get
Mhm.
appropriate endorsement from the legitimate profile or any the it should not be fake at the end.
Got it. Got it.
So if candidate gets such kind of endorsement from their known connections, it will
Got it.
definitely going to bring a lot of value to their
Got it.
profile. Why?
Got it.
Because most of the time recruiters they look for the keywords,
Mhm.
and they cannot find everything on your LinkedIn profile, but they can get more valuable data through this endorsement feature.
Mhm.
So I would like to deconstruct it on three different or three important points. One is the innovative, how innovative this feature is,
Mhm.
how useful it is,
Mhm.
and how honest it is.
Three things that I
Okay.
think Meenal spoke about very interestingly was, one, the first thing, that it is a very good way of highlighting to a user who is very comfortable in product. Like if I have like 100 endorsements in product management from all of my skills, right? This tells that I am a good guy in product management. So I would be an easier guess to get recruited. That's one, right? The second thing is the actual authenticity of those endorsements, right? It should not be that some random person comes to my profile and puts across कि okay, Shravan is great at Excel. Might not be true, right? Might not be true, right? So how do you verify the authenticity of that particular thing? And the third thing is that how do you improve the visibility of the endorsement features? Currently the endorsement features are very very low in the in the profile. Nobody even goes there, right? So how do you improve the visibility? So I think three features. One is specifically highlighting it to recruiters. Second is authentic endorsements, and third feature is how do you improve the visibility of it. Let's go into then the user personas, that who will you target these features for. Yeah, yeah.
So basically, I'll target this particular feature for recruiters and for not for the random people.
Got it.
It should be for genuine people who, I mean, for the genuine connections. Because
Got it.
nowadays, what happened? People just come visit your profile and they directly ask for the recommendation. And
Got it.
without, I mean, you barely know them, or without knowing them, you tend to give a false or wrong endorsement, which in
Got
a
it.
way is not going to add any value.
Got it.
So my solution will be how innovative it will be. You can get a data, but you are
Got it.
not sure how quality data you will get out of this feature.
Got it.
So
Got it.
you should focus on having a good connection who can
Hmm.
bring value to your profile and other way around. And whenever you are extending your network with a person, you should not directly go and ask for the endorsement right in the beginning.
Hmm.
First, that person, or you should bring some value through your
Hmm.
work, through your profile, the way you are doing
Got
through
it.
Swagwala PM. So
Got it.
exactly the same way, your profile, your work should be visible,
Got it.
and then maybe you can go and ask for the endorsement.
Got
The
it.
one thing I think we can improve over here, suppose
Hmm.
I am giving endorsement to any UI designer or any
Got
developer,
it. Got it.
but currently there is no such feature available where you can see the portfolio of that person. If at all I want to give endorsement to you, Shravan, if I
Hmm.
get to know your work, your portfolio well in advance, probably it would be pretty much easy for me to endorse you
Got
in
it.
a correct way, in a more valuable way.
Got it.
So
Very very amazing point. So guys, one thing that Meenal specifically focused on is that to get the right endorsements I should know the person in some way, right? Maybe his work, maybe his portfolio, maybe his five six different things that he effectively chooses to do, right? Now Meenal, can we build a product solution around this? That how do we effectively identify that someone who is endorsing me actually has a sense of my work, right? How do you do that? So that's the next question. Yes. Yes, exactly, Pratik. That's the question that I wanted to kind of put across.
we have a data with us. So
Hmm.
just I mentioned about the portfolio.
Hmm.
So LinkedIn can authenticate is one of the way where LinkedIn can just verify based on the data.
Got it.
Then the second thing is that how long you're knowing that person or that connection. If you're not bringing anything on the platform, you
Got
are
it.
just here, and I mean, you are just here to make a connection.
Got
So
it.
how engaged you are with the LinkedIn or with the post, how frequently you're posting, how frequently you're commenting,
Got
like
it.
any particular post, based on
Got it.
that data.
So why don't we make a product structure of this? Like the first number of users who effectively get you to endorse yourself are the people who have commented with you in the last 3 months on your posts, to try to figure that out. But that is going to be the a challenge because only 2% users are creators. What else can you bring across? 98% of the people are like who just scroll through the LinkedIn posts and stuff like that. What is a way to get endorsements to those 98% people? Because I am a creator, I know a lot of people know me, they would want to endorse me, right? But what about a person like a college student who doesn't put that many posts on LinkedIn?
The amount of work that he has done during his college days, any sort of
Mhm.
internship,
Got it.
or any I mean the sort of hackathon or code games that he or she has participated in.
Hmm.
Based on that, I can gauge, I can understand whether person is good in product management, in coding, in user experience. I mean, whatever data you're feeding to the LinkedIn, based on that only I could make assumption, I could identify.
But data is a very large thing to say. Can you build a structure like this, that okay, The number of people who have come to my profile in some way, right? I give them the discovery to that. Like, I know there are 500 connections that I have. Everybody typically has 500 connections these days. Not necessarily 5,000 or 50,000, but at least 5,500 to 1,000 connections everybody has on LinkedIn. If he's a decent user of LinkedIn, I would not say a power user of LinkedIn, but a decent user of LinkedIn. So, typically those connections are either our college friends or I know in some way, and they visit our profile in some way.
The one solution I can propose here, suppose I will reach out to my college friends in that
Correct.
case, or my
Correct.
professors.
Correct.
And since they have known me from a very long time, they are
Hmm.
definitely aware about what all work that I have done in past 4 or 5 years.
Hmm.
And I could get a real endorsement, real data,
Again,
valuable data from them.
again, that is an offline solution. Like, you are reaching out to someone, right?
No,
My
no,
point
through
is,
LinkedIn.
again, even through LinkedIn, that will be probably 20 people, 30 people, 40 people at max, and out of those, 10% might give you a recommendation because it's a follow-up structure. What is a product structure through that people can start recommending? Like, see, one of the ways that I'll give you a cue about it is, let's assume you build this feature that in the last 1 month somebody has seen my profile for three times or more, right? I can
Yeah.
automatically recommend him like Facebook recommends me. Do you want to endorse him for data science? Do you want to endorse that? This comes from a data that this person has actually gone through your profile 3 times, right? And he knows that what you've done, right? And now that particular user set only, I'm asking that, why don't you endorse him? Why don't you endorse him? So can we
Yeah.
use some sort of data like that,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. I mean, this is one of the brilliant way we can make use
Yes.
of.
So we will think of three structures. Number one, for creators, people who have engaged on my posts for the last 1 month, maybe 5 times or 4 times from the data that we try to give them a recommendation structure. Now the people who come in the 98% section, people who have viewed my profile once or twice in the last 1 month, I put it across over there. And the third way could be that it's a larger way. Like, if I know a connection who knows a connection, and that connection has endorsed him,
Mutual.
right? Then I will try to tell him that if your friend has endorsed, which you know him very clearly, that means this guy would actually have some sort of value. Now we have authenticated the validity of the endorsements, right? Now, how will you improve discovery? Let's talk about that.
First of all, I'll try to put keywords, or wherever I am getting the space in
Yeah.
on LinkedIn where I can put my experience. So I'll
Yeah.
try to put everything in a descriptive manner. What all
Yeah.
projects that I have worked, what are skill
Yeah.
set that I have. I
Yeah.
will definitely going to put my portfolio link, so that
Yeah.
if recruiter wants to visit something, or if they are curious to know about my work, that is
Yeah.
one of the best way
Yeah.
I can bring it on my profile. Then, whenever I am sending a connection request to someone, I will make sure that I will always put a note in that why I'm extending the connection, why I'm
Yeah.
extending my network. So,
Yeah.
in that way, I will not lose to have a connection with a great people, or those who are sharing a great content.
From a recruiter side, can you create levels of endorsements, right? Somebody who's highly endorsed, right? You click there, then you figure out, okay, the highly endorsed people are 10 years in experience and a lot of people, and then you automatically profile them for a role, something like a VP, right? People who are in lower levels of endorsements for product management, maybe 10 to 15 endorsements, automatically shortlist them for APMs, PMs, and stuff like that, right? So we have figured out the authenticity and the discovery part. Now let's move to the metric part. How will you measure the success of this feature?
So, from recruiter's point of view, or from the candidate's perspective?
Actually, both perspectives. Can you give me both ideas?
Yeah. So, from the candidate's perspective, how many interview invites, or how many recruiters are reaching out to me
Hmm.
based on my profile, based on the keywords that I have put in over my profile, or based on the endorsement that I have received so far. I will check before endorsement, or before making my profile, before cleanup of my profile, or before the endorsement, and after getting lots of endorsement. I would identify, in last
Hmm.
6 months there was a zero call, or zero recruiters visit to my profile. And after
Hmm.
improving the endorsement feature, maybe I started getting a good amount of calls. So that can be one of the success metric, and that I can measure in terms of data.
Correct, correct. That's a very good way. What else is the, from a recruiter side? What would be the metric? Number of actual selections, and in comparison to the number of endorsements that were received for the user. Because if he's actually quality endorsements, that's the quality of, he should actually get shortlisted and move towards that one. So your endorsements are a true reflection of that, whether you are actually skilled at that skill or not. Right, right. So that is
Yes.
a very good metric, that the number of endorsements a user has from the number of the people that they have shortlisted, the number of people shortlisted, what's the success percentage, like number of people shortlisted based on the what the bucket of endorsements that you have done as the bottom level, and the top level will be number of people who actually got recruited. So that means that if your endorsements are really good, then your recruitment channels, recruitment conversions should improve, right? So that is something that
Yes.
we'll do. So, guys, how did you like this? I think amazing thing, amazing. Meenal has been super kind in doing this, and this is going to be really amazing. So, Meenal, thank you very much for being so kind in taking this interview. I am so happy. I think this is a one of a kind deconstruct that we did. I'm super happy and super. I really wish from gratitude from the bottom of my heart for taking out the time.
Thank you, Shravan. Thank you so much. And it was a great learning experience for me as well.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you so much.